President Trump says nobody is getting off the hook for the unfair trade balances and non monetary tariff barriers, especially China. He also added that no tariff exception was announced on Friday. There we have it. So, pretty much what we've been discussing, specifically on my channel, that, even though we are starting to see the market reacting in a positive way, there's still some things we need to keep an eye out on, and this is a perfect example of that. But welcome back to the Crypto ZX channel, to the XRP Army. Appreciate you guys as always, for sticking around and showing tremendous amount of love. Looking across the board, you are seeing the broader market down. Obviously, Mantra DAO, again, I made an update for you guys. If you do want to pause this video and kind of watch the update, I have uploaded that for you guys, and I kind of went over as to what I personally think is happening. It is really scary. A lot of people have been impacted by this. My heart goes out to them, but again, this is the risk that is involved when it comes to cryptocurrencies. You need to understand, the importance of diversification and also locking in profits. People were sitting in life-changing gains with and I really hope some did. Of course, a lot of people are impacted. It's a very, very unfortunate situation, and I really hope we do hear more credible and proper answers coming out of this. But again, let this be a learning lesson, guys. This is something that I want you guys to be well aware of, because there's a lot of new money coming into the space, and this is something that we always can learn from, and hopefully, a miracle does happen. But looking at XRP, it is down 0.8% in USD compared, you can see, at $2.13. As far as Bitcoin compared, pretty much break even. Valuation at $124.4 billion, and the 24-hour trading volume at about $3.8 billion. But before we get into any further, as always, just a quick disclaimer, anything on this channel is not financial advice. Always do your own due diligence and research when you are investing in cryptocurrencies. So, Metaplanet bought 319 Bitcoin worth $26.3 million, totaling to 4,525 Bitcoin on their balance sheet, which again is quite interesting. Where is smart money really going? You can see this for yourself. But look at this, Standard Chartered just made a bold call on XRP. $12.50 price target by 2028. Predicted flipping on Ethereum and market cap. Spot ETF approval in 2025 could bring in $8 billion in flows. Tokenization leadership plus institutional adoption equals rocket fuel. Could XRP be the dark horse that becomes crypto's true number 2? I firstly shared my personal thoughts on this. Nothing against Ethereum, but I think there are better, coins out there that are, superior to Ethereum. And I think, you're starting to see the market kind of show that as well. But, as far as XRP is concerned, we're talking about not just a regular coin, guys. We're talking about so much things happening, real world use case. And as we are seeing clarity coming towards, the crypto industry, I think it is a time to shine for Ripple. And, a lot of people are not understanding that, but when you really put in, to consideration what's really happening, you can realize, the potential, where things are really heading. And yes, people are very fast, talk about, well, the price is not an all-time high, this and that, it's not moving. Why is things not happening so fast? Those are the comments that you hear day in, day out, right? Like every single time you will hear, why is this not happening at a faster pace? But let me tell you right now, where's the price of XRP sitting? $2.13. Would you like to see the price of XRP sitting at November levels or at $2.13? I'm sure no one really wants to see the price of XRP sitting at 50 cents, and it's at $2.13. It has gone through major amounts of volatility over the last, few months, and you're still seeing the price of XRP as of now sitting at $2.13, and that speaks a lot of volume for myself. And look what Jake says, most of the financial world is still blind to what's happening. Ripple's technology isn't just another crypto project. It's the infrastructure that will unlock trillions in previously frozen assets. Major banks and financial institutions are implementing systems that will use the XRP ledger. For example, tokenization. When these assets start flowing through Ripple's network, the landscape will change permanently. Those who understand this now have an advantage. The rest will watch from the sidelines. Of course, at the end of the day, speculations have been occurring, from day one. At the end of the day, time is going to be the most important factor, but you need to see where the blockchain industry is going. You're starting to see big entities, really wanting to, take advantage of this new tech and really implement it within their infrastructures. And there's going to come a time where you do see these big entities, exploring different options. And, this is where, again, speculators are really betting on XRP Ledger to shine, because it's that one-stop shop, as we have discussed on our channels several times. And, that is very exciting. Of course, it gets a lot of people, kind of getting, excited, but you can see this for yourself. Ripple opened an office in Dublin to serve the wider European market. They're expanding not just within North America, and I've said this to you guys before. North America, specifically the U.S., you're starting to see clarity coming recently, right? Pretty much under Trump administration, which hasn't even been a year. What we need to be focusing on is, rather than what had been happening prior. They've been expanding in Europe, they've been expanding in Asia, and this is not something new. And they want to go worldwide. They want to be implemented within infrastructures around the globe, not just within the U.S. And that's what a lot of people don't realize, and I think you guys want to really keep an eye out on. And look at this, embedded into the payment flow of Ripple's payment service in XRP, or choice of other assets like the RLUSD, USDC, even Tether. The payment services can use pathfinding to seek out the best assets at the best rate. The native gateway token will always be XRP. Wow. Now, with that said, let's take a look at what's happening with the Bitcoin price. So as far as the dominance is concerned, obviously still ranging at the 63%, 63.54% to be exact, still really high, of course, in the grand scheme of things. If you're looking at BTC going into Monday morning, Bitcoin is looking really good. I've stated this to you guys before. Obviously, as of now, Bitcoin is looking great. Obviously, if we hear some sort of announcement that comes out that has a negative impact, such as, more tariff announcements, those are some things that are obviously out of our control. Obviously, you would expect the likes of Bitcoin and, the stock market to react. But so far, Bitcoin has held up its ground really nicely, and has been in this upwards trend, pretty much, since hitting, this double low once on April 7th and as well as once on April 9th. We have been in this upward trajectory, still remaining in the 38.2, which of course is nice to see as of now. And if we're able to break above 86K, I think that would be a clear indication that we could start heading up to that 90K range, which of course would be really exciting. But with that said, let's really analyze and take a look at what's happening with XRP's price right now. XRP did wake up to $2.24 just a few hours ago. So momentum, guys, this is something that I don't want you guys to be ignoring. $2.24 for XRP made its way down to $2.10, of course, as Bitcoin went down to 83, but, making its way up to this 213 zone once again. Obviously, significant amount of resistance, and I do believe this wick will fill in sooner rather than later. So again, people are very fast to, ignore these types of, price action. The fact that we're still in the 38.2, yes, we're not in all-time high territory, but you cannot ignore where XRP's price is sitting right now. I cannot stress this enough. So far, so good. Like what I'm seeing here, one step at a time. Let me know down below what you guys think right now, and where do you see the price of XRP going in, the future? Where do you see the price of XRP in 2028 and 2030? Let me know in the comments down below. And of course, if you have watched this video till the end, comment below moon, and that lets me know that you have watched till the end. But yeah, I really want to have you guys in the comments really talk about where do you see XRP's price in the next 5 years from now on, and that would be really interesting to see what people's personal takes are. And yeah, thank you for all your support. You guys are absolutely amazing for tuning in on a regular day-to-day basis. We'll see you later. It's been Crypto ZX, and peace out.